Gang, what's up? Aaron, Canadian Looney. Good to see everybody. What's up, Brother James? Captain Kirk, always a pleasure. Lady Rhonda, I hope you're feeling a bit better today. Let's just jump right in. We've got a lot of things to watch, a couple of quick videos, some more clips from a brand new couple of committee meetings, and then we'll get into question period. We've got lots to go, so it's good to see everybody. Smash that like, hit subscribe, and we're going to kick it off here with
But when it comes also to the fact that the president of Air Canada didn't speak French at the time where we know that a lot of the victims and their families are francophone, knowing also that Air Canada has duties, obligations under the Official Languages Act, I just thought it showed a lack of empathy and a lack of sensitivity. And in that sense, I think it's a question of moral leadership. And I think that in those circumstances, the president of Air Canada needs to show that he understood the message and that he needs to make sure that himself and also the entire company abides by its obligation under the Act.
Ottawa, they are officially responding to the news today that NATO's defense spending target for this country of 2% has been hit. So let's listen.
Today we want to respond to Mark Carney's announcement that Canada's hit the NATO 2% spending target, but that doesn't mean that Canada's any stronger. As we know that all this increased defense spending that he's bragging about today is actually an illusion. We know that through creative accounting that government spending in national defense has increased by over $10 billion. That hasn't actually resulted in increased capabilities for the Canadian Armed Forces. It has not actually increased our own security or made us safer here at home. We are still sitting with many fleets, whether it's in the Air Force, the Army, or the Navy, that are unserviceable. Only 50% of the Canadian Armed Forces equipment is deployable. And we know that that's impacting on our operational readiness and our interoperability with our allies. They still haven't replaced our CF-18s. They committed to buying the F-35s, and here we are still waiting almost a year since Mark Carney said that he would get the F-35s. And since the Department of National Defense and the Canadian Armed Forces said that's the fighter jet that Canada needs. We are still waiting for new submarines. We are still waiting for new tanks and other armored vehicles for our Army. And we are still a long way from having new warships in the water to keep Canada safe. We know that the spending that has been taking place has been through the additions of non-kinetic capabilities from other departments, whether it's adding in the Canadian Coast Guard, which does not have a national defense mandate or even a security mandate at this point in time. We know that they've added in things like Transport Canada aircraft to now be counted as national defense. And we know that since 2017, they have added in non-national defense spending, such as veterans' pensions, civilian pensions, as well as dollars that have been allocated through Global Affairs Canada for different types of programs for conflict resolution. Again, no increased capabilities or lethality for the Canadian Armed Forces. We want to just remind everyone that over $10 billion that the Prime Minister is bragging about today comes from other government departments. As well, we've also experienced over the last 10 years under these Liberals that over $10 billion has lapsed. That was allocated for defense equipment and for the Canadian Armed Forces. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't believe that the approach that's been taken by the Liberals in creating more bureaucracy, like the Defence Investment Agency, by adding in and hiring a CEO who has no experience with defence or with procurement to run that organization, will result in greater delivery of equipment and assets for the Canadian Armed Forces to ensure that they can do the difficult tasks that they are handed by the Government of Canada, whether it's protecting us here at home, working with our allies under NORAD and NATO, or having to deploy for greater conflicts around the world.
Okay, let's find out more about the significance of this trial. Matthew Bergman is one of the plaintiff's lawyers in the social media addiction trial, also the founder of the Social Media Victims Law Center. Thanks for joining us. Landmark ruling. To what extent do you believe this will, in fact, be a landmark ruling?
Well, this is an inflection point in the effort of 4 years to hold social media companies accountable for the carnage that their platforms are inflicting on young people in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, and around the world.
So the jury is recommending Meta and YouTube pay an additional $3 million in punitive damages. As you heard from our reporter, some people find that surprisingly low. In Canada, we're used to seeing U.S. juries sometimes award huge punitive damage awards. Against such big tech companies, does $3 million really matter to them?
$3 million doesn't matter, but 3 million times 10,000 does. And there are thousands and thousands of families in the United States and in Canada who we represent, whose children have been injured and in many cases lost their lives through these dangerously defective, recklessly designed platforms. What was most compelling was the jury not only found that Meta and YouTube were negligent, but found that they acted with malice in putting their profits over the safety of our kids. This is a watershed in accountability. These companies had been able to avoid and evade accountability for decades, and the chickens have come home to roost. And there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Mark Lanier.
I find your metaphors interesting. So what's next? Are we going to see dozens, hundreds, maybe more civil suits filed in courts across the country? What do you expect?
Well, we already have over 1,500 families who are seeking relief on behalf of their injured kids or their kids that have lost their lives. We hope that this ruling will inspire people who've been afraid to take on big tech, to give it a try. But let's make no mistake, these are difficult cases, they're challenging cases, and these companies have all the money in the world to fight them. So, this is the first battle of a very long war. We're very happy at the outcome. We're very gratified at the jury's careful deliberation, but we have no illusions that these companies are going to go away or go easily into the night. We're going to have to fight them every step of the way, but now we have even more inspiration to do that.
One of the outcomes of a trial.
All right, gang, we're going to cross over now to some committee action. So our Treasury Board president was in the hot seat today in the OGO committee, and Shafkat Ali is one of the hardest ministers to possibly tolerate. Watch him. He gets into it here. I dropped a video earlier with Kelly McCauley, the chair of the committee, getting in his... Anyways, let's just jump into the... In Canadian federal politics, the Canucks are represented by two separate yet unequal groups. The globalists who sold out and the opposition trying to salvage a country. These are their stories.
Today, really do appreciate it. I'm just wondering if you can tell us straight off the top if you know what the deficit is going to be going forward.
Mr. President, we are here to discuss supplementary estimate C, which has 5.4 billion of total expenditure projection, but we have actually we decreased that spending at 1.4 billion.
So you don't know what the projection for the deficit's going to be for the rest of the year?
I'm saying that we're here to discuss supplementary
which is an
C.
Which is an update.
That is today's committee to discuss supplementary estimate C.
Okay, it's an update. I was hoping you would know the answer.
Projected spending of 5.4 billion, and then we actually have spent like 4 billion, which is decrease of 1.4 billion.
Okay. Do you know what the increase over last year this time is that we're seeing as a result of these supplementaries?
Supplementary, we have in main estimate spending is up 15.9 billion as compared to last year.
Okay, I have 24 billion in the numbers from the PBO, and actually from a Government of Canada website as well. It's $24 billion, which is basically a 5% increase. At the same time, you guys are undergoing the comprehensive expenditure review, which is supposed to find $15 billion in savings. So, how's that going?
Comprehensive expenditure review we launched to bring our operational costs, balance our operational costs in next 3 years, and to find savings, to invest in the areas where it will matter most to Canadians, for example, defense, infrastructure, housing. So we're finding saving of 60 billion in 5 years, and it's going well, and we're bringing our public service in sustainable level.
It's going well. Interesting. Do you know what the national debt is right now, Minister?
Again, I'm here to discuss supplementary estimates C. So I think this is the meeting is dedicated to that, to discuss supplementary estimate C. And I think it's on the main estimate. We'll come back again, Mr. Chair. I think it's we should use our time to discuss what we've been here to discuss.
Well, you're the Treasury Board President. I would hope that you would know what the national debt is. You don't even know what the deficit for this year is, which is just appalling that you would come to this committee and not even know some of those very basic numbers that you should know as the head of the Treasury Board. But I will inform you, Minister, it is $1.29 trillion is the national debt. By the end of your hour here at committee, another $4.5 million will be added to the debt. By the end of today, it'll be about $110 million without you spending any money. Just the interest alone is going to be that particularly high. And when we are continue to add more and more spending through the supplementary estimates, those numbers only go higher and higher and higher. It doesn't get that any lower, which means that the next generation of Canadians and the current generation of Canadians are going to be the ones who are going to be bearing the brunt of this. So I'm just wondering, at what point in time are you going to return to a fiscal anchor that is actually going to help sustain the economy? Because it used to be that you were not going to go over a $40 billion deficit. This year, it's a $78 billion deficit was the projection. That's why I asked you if you knew what the latest update on the deficit was. If you don't know it, I'll ask you one more time. I've given you some time to find that number. What is the deficit going to be with the update here?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. What I can tell you in the main estimates, we have $502 billion in budgetary spending, and up to 15.9 billion it's up 15.9 billion compared to last year, and this include 230.4 billion in voted spending and 272.4 billion in statutory spending, and nearly 60% of this spending is directed towards transfers to the provinces and other priorities. They also contain 14.7 billion in new spending announced in budget 2025, including funding for defense, but also infrastructure and economic support.
You have, did you apply a rural lens to any of that spending, Minister?
These main estimates, if you're going to go in a technicality of regional or those estimates, they comes from departments, and every department is responsible for their submissions.
Interesting. Do you have a breakdown of the layoffs of public servants by region, Minister? Do you have that information?
We're dealing with the workforce adjustment and early retirement. There's many tools we have to deal with this workforce reduction, and we're returning to public service to a more sustainable level of 330,000, and about 9,800 jobs were reduced in 2024, 2025.
Thank you.
And with the regional reduction this year,
our time. we're past our time, I'm afraid. But you might be able to finish that with Mr. Johnson, please.
I'm hoping that I can break this down in a way that makes sense, because I know a lot of Canadians are kind of confused about what just happened. So
it is pretty confusing. This guy, the way he just does not answer, and he's so obnoxious and so arrogant, he talks down. Waiting to see. This one gets heated. It really does.
the Liberals asked us to approve spending $1 billion, vote 50C, with absolutely no breakdown of where the money's going. So now we're here after the vote, trying to understand what just got approved. So as I see it, Parliament's job is to approve spending before it happens, based on clear information. Would we agree on that, Minister?
Merci for that question. It's a very important question for Canadians to understand what is Vote 50. We already have Vote 5, which is 5% contingency fund. We already have that in place, that in case of any urgency, you're able to use that fund. And similarly, Vote 50 is specifically for our Canadian Armed Forces, that should they need any urgent funding, so we don't get into the long process of getting into estimates. Just
my time
because
is short.
The Canadians
My time
are
is
watching,
short.
and this is a very important question.
My time is short. Can I cede the floor? I take the floor back? The Parliamentary Budget Officer told us that there was no breakdown available, and not because it's confidential, but because the decisions hadn't been made yet, and that's why we had to vote. Correct?
Vote 50, it's really important to understand this is a fund, is there $1 billion for urgency, any urgent or emergency fund required by Canadian Armed Forces. It is there. If any spending would be done, that would be approved by Treasury Board, and it would be presented in next parliamentary estimates.
So I have a follow-up question. Can I take the floor back? I have a follow-up question. So this funding only becomes available after royal assent, after the vote, which happened just a few days ago. So now you have just a few days left in the fiscal year. And as I understand it, departments will have a very short window to spend it. So help me understand this. It looks like this money is going to be rushed out the door in the final days, and that means the Liberals forced us to approve $1 billion without a plan, without a list of projects, and in actual fact, we don't even know if the details will ever come at all. $1 billion, Mr. Ali. And you've accused me in the past of trying to get social media clips, but I can assure you, Canadians are very concerned about the way their money is being spent. A $1 billion blank check is a very big deal, and this is just me trying to follow the money. You have 5 days left in the fiscal year to spend $1 billion, yet we have no idea what you're going to spend it on. Does that sound like a good idea to you, sir?
Again, thank you for the question. You're getting into that illusion again that money somehow is being spent. I'm explaining that this is Vote 50 is a $1 billion is a fund there for emergency needs. It should our Canadian Armed Forces need anything. So it is there. If the money would be spent,
so in the next 5 days,
it would be coming into Parliament, and we had an opportunity to ask question in Parliament. We just passed this bill 2 days ago in the Parliament.
So this money will be spent in the next 5 days?
Money is there, and we have robust and very transparent system. It would be the detail would be coming to the Parliament in next estimates. So
okay, I'd like to ask a following question. So, how much of the 2% of NATO commitment is simply from reclassifying our civilian Coast Guard as military?
I think it's we're here to discuss Bill C. Estimate C, this is something like
respect,
you have
mentioned it in your
to defense.
First thing.
You can respond
Chair,
to
point
the
of order.
question.
Point of order. I
Sorry,
thought.
I'm pausing the time. I have a point of order.
Sorry, maybe I'm new to this place and I don't know how this works yet. But usually we ask the questions and the minister or whoever's here, the witness, answers, don't we have to give them time to answer? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure how this works, so maybe you can explain it.
It is the member's time. So if the member feels it's not getting the right answer, they're welcome to interrupt. But
a guy like Gasparo really is stupid. He really is dumb. Just listen to the way he words his questions. Like this Shafkat Ali isn't stupid. He knows all the answers. He's playing dumb. It's not like the Liberals aren't pulling off their scam. Like, just because we know, like, we're onto their scam doesn't mean that they're still not pulling it off. We're just aware of it, which makes it very annoying.
It is the member's time.
Gasparo's stupid.
Chair, well, we have to give the minister a chance to be able to respond.
The time belongs to the member. If the member does not wish to allow time for response, that's the member's time. Just like if someone goes on a 5-minute speech and does not allow a time for response, it's their use of the time. There are times, well, perhaps right now I'll intervene, where the president is stating we're not here for that discussion, but he brought it up repeatedly, and you brought it up repeatedly about the 2%. So I think it's a fair question to ask. I think Mrs. Jansen's just pressing him on that point. We will ask everyone to stop talking over each other, though, which is, I think, perhaps to your point as well. Can you continue, Ms. Jansen and Mr. President Ali? You have 30 seconds left.
So I just want to reiterate the question so that it's clear, because we did have this in your speech, and Mr. Gasparo spoke about it as well with great pride. So the question is, how much of the 2% of NATO commitment is simply from reclassifying the civilian Coast Guard as military?
Again, this is, I think it would be a very small portion of that, and then I can ask my deputy to respond to this question for your benefit.
Certainly, I can be very quick, Mr. Chair. Very, very small amount indeed, because the Coast Guard's relevant activities for defense were already counted when they were part of Fisheries and Oceans. So it is a very, very small amount indeed.
Would you be able to just get back to the committee with an exact number? Wonderful. We will for 5. Welcome back, by the way.
It is always a pleasure to be here at the mighty Ogo, Chair. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much, President, for returning. I was recently reviewing the departmental reports, which are closely tied to the CER exercise, and I have 2 major concerns. The first is that the departments under your care don't seem to have a specific roadmap as to how they will realign, as you say, but realistically eliminate these positions. And having served in government myself for close to 15 years, I know that every position comes with a line item. Your department should be providing you with this. Are you concerned that we won't actually be able to see the plan under your care and the implementation of that until fiscal year 2026, 2027, when we see where the cuts, which are actual positions, were made?
Merci beaucoup, Chair. Thank you, my colleague, for this important question. I can assure you we have a plan, and the department has a plan, and they are engage with bargaining agents as well to execute this plan. And I mean, if you need a detailed clarity, just let me give me 30 seconds. I'll be happy to
I've given you 30
host
seconds already,
you there.
President, and all I've heard is that you have a plan. I would really suggest you review that plan, and probably for the sound-mindedness of Canadians, if you could release that plan. My greater concern is that while you are going through this exercise and you claim there is a decrease in positions, we're actually seeing an increase in spending, with 64 departments having greater expenditures in 2025, 2026. So it's not clear to me, and I don't think it's clear to Canadians. Wouldn't the entire idea behind this exercise, this significant exercise, possibly the trademark of your time as president, be able to show savings for Canadians, because right now there are 64 departments more that have greater expenditures in 2025, 2026. Don't you think that is already a failure of the plan even before it's attempted to be implemented?
It's in fact other way around. We're saving $60 billion over 5 years. So, and then we're balancing our government operational budget in next 3 years. So I think it's other way around. Yes, we're finding savings on the areas where the programs were not performing, not meeting their objectives, or maybe duplications and reassigning to different areas. So that's where you might have sort of confusion, but I'll be happy to assist you or host you to explain, offline than where you have any confusions.
I don't think there's any confusion. I think spending $80 billion more than you have this year alone is a very clear indicator of you and your government's inability to manage the books and to balance it. And unfortunately, we are not seeing any improvement within that or with this exercise. I'm going to move on to the Access to Information Act. There are many Canadians who are currently concerned about the proposed changes to the Access to Information Act that your department is suggesting, which include eliminating emails and texts as responses to requests for access to information, in addition to allowing departments to put halts or pauses when they make access to information requests. I believe that Canadians deserve transparency from their government, and that these changes would significantly reduce transparency for Canadians when trying to obtain information about the decisions your government has taken and your responsibility with that. Would you agree with me that government should be more transparent, and you want to, as the president of the Treasury Board, provide transparency for Canadians?
I thank you for the question. I think we've been very transparent. This new government has been very transparent.
Not doing these changes,
when
President.
it comes to processing of ATIP requests, regardless of any technology used to support of this work, all files are reviewed by ATIP professional to ensure legal requirements for disclosure are being properly met. And then for your further clarification or satisfaction, I'm going to ask my deputy to
we are past our time, I'm afraid, as much as like hearing from Mr. Matthews. We'll go to...
Okay, thank you very much. Minister, talking about some of the Research Council issues here, I'm just going to ask us a question first, and then we'll get into the research side of things. Do you consider a 34-to-1 return on investment a good return?
For 5, welcome back, by the way.
I'm sorry, can you elaborate a bit more, please?
For $1 spent, you get $34 back. Is that a good return on investment?
I don't know which word you get that return.
Well, do you think that's a good return on investment? Would that,
that looks unrealistic.
Okay, so the Department of Agriculture has research stations, and the value of those research stations for every dollar that is spent, it is a 34-to-1 return on investment on those research dollars, because agriculture is 1 in 9 jobs in Canada, is one of our largest, if not the largest, exports and GDP developers in our economy. And those research stations, because of the work that they do on scaling up crops, they provide, and it's been verified by the University of Saskatchewan and other universities to be about that figure of 34-to-1. Yet you're cutting and close. So Agriculture Canada is they're hitting that 15% reduction. We are shutting down the Indian Head Research Station, the Scott Research Station, the Lacombe Research Station. There's cuts to other research stations across the country. When you are, as the President of the Treasury Board, trying to obviously get spending under control, yet about the only department that can brag about having a real return on investment for taxpayers and actually get value out of the work that they're doing. That's the one that's getting the most devastating cuts. Does that make sense to you?
Chair, thank you for the question. I think it's I see one side that our colleague from Conservative, they say you're spending too much. Other side, when you're trying to find saving, you find different excuses. But this, every department was asked. It's not Treasury Board is deciding in what will happen in agriculture. It is the department was asked to submit or find saving where the programs are underperforming. So it is the minister responsible for that department who would have submitted the plan. I think it's if you have any concern, we're happy to assist you.
Well, I have a lot of concerns, but Minister, sorry, I'm going to defer the last minute to my colleague, Ms. Jansen here. I want her to have the last minute, so I'm going to give, no. She gets the last minute.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt her. Maybe, Minister, you can respond in writing to it, but it's the member's time, and now Ms. Jansen is taking over. No. I could also say it's not fair that you filibuster the timeout. So,
sorry, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
We ask our witnesses questions. We have to allow them to answer.
There was a question asked, and I did not see a response from Mr. Ali, but he's turned the time. It is the member's time. Oh,
no, he's not.
Minister Ali, that is very offensive. I think Minister, if you sat in any one of the Liberal-chaired committee meetings, you would not dare come in here and say, I am being partisan. That's offensive. Shame on you, Minister.
Shame on you.
I have been very fair. The time has been turned over to Mrs. Jansen. I've asked, I'm sorry? What was that, Minister?
You're being unfair, Chair. So
again, I would challenge you to spend a minute in any Liberal-chaired meeting, and then you come back here and tell me that. It's Mrs. Jansen for 1 minute. Please go ahead.
So I just want to clarify, there are contingency funds already built into the budget. This is over and above this 50C. So it's not for an unexpected emergency. It's for something you planned, but it wasn't ready. So, I mean, basically, we have a contingency fund in the budget. This $1 billion isn't replacing those. It's extra and being used to deal with spending that should have been planned properly in the first place. And I'm concerned that the answers you gave made it seem like this wasn't extra. I wonder if you can tell me, is this actually a contingency fund or is it a slush fund?
Again, my colleague is getting in conspiracy theories. There is a contingency fund in Vote 5, which is 5%. This is $1 billion, and Vote 50 is a fund for Canadian Armed Forces. So if they need any money, it could be used, and it cannot be used without a Treasury Board's approval. And should they use any money, it will be made public. It will come in next estimates in the Parliament, so you will have an opportunity to ask questions, and this is the most transparent process. And this is not something new is happening. It's already that we have contingency fund previously, and then the Vote 50 is just for Canadian Armed Forces, just for Canadians to understand that what is and. You know, my colleagues getting into conspiracy theories. There's nothing to hide in here.
You will note I gave you extra time to answer. We'll finish up with Madame Gaudreau.
My first question is to Minister Hajdu.
All right, gang, we're going to watch maybe a round, maybe 2 rounds, and then we'll jump over to question period. Patty Hajdu is now in the hot seat at the Health and Safety Committee. We've got Anna Roberts up here asking the questions. Patty Hajdu is another very hard to tolerate minister, but that Shafkat Ali, don't think for a second he's just stupid. It's all a part of a plan that they're pulling off. It's not going well.
Canadians are reporting significant delays and disruption in receiving their old age security and GIS benefits, and frontline staff are reportedly working long hours just to keep the system running. Can you tell us how many seniors have been affected so far, whether that number is expected to increase, And how many employees are currently working overtime to fix these issues along with the cost to taxpayers?
Well, thank you very much. And as I've said in the House a number of times, in fact, well over 7.7 million seniors now have been migrated to the new system and are receiving their benefits on time and without any delay or any complication. There are a number of new applicants, largely, that have submitted mainly by paper, who have seen delays in receiving the commencement of their benefits. We have been working through that delay for those affected seniors, and we're seeing significant progress in reducing the number of people waiting.
So the last number that we received was that there are 69,000 cases still past due. Is that accurate?
It's 63,000 now.
It's 63,000. So can you tell the people, the seniors that are listening today, how quickly they will be receiving their funds given the cost of living? And one of the seniors brought to my attention that she had to go to her family to borrow some money because of this delay and is very embarrassed to do it, so she decided to go to the food bank. Can you explain to the seniors why this system has not worked efficiently for them?
Well, actually, in many cases, for the people that are waiting on the waiting list, it's a case of missing information. I can't speak to that particular senior, but there is often cases in paper applications in particular where information is missing, where information around time of residency in Canada, the number of years, you need to have lived in Canada for 40 years to receive full OAS. If you've been absent for a period of time, then the department has a responsibility to make sure it understands with evidence when you've lived in Canada. Sometimes those documents are difficult to get. Each case is different, and of course I'm not implying that that's the case for this particular senior, but that's why we have the support line and the rapid access to supports through ESDC for any urgent cases, because of course if someone is relying on OAS, not everybody does, but if someone is relying on OAS, they need to get that immediately.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the delays, again, I'm sure a lot of seniors aren't comfortable with the modernization. She did call, and she ended up having to hang up after 2.5 hours. So I guess let's go back one step. A lot of staff and employees of that department are concerned about their mental health because of the overtime. How much more overtime is going to be required and at what cost to the taxpayers?
I think I'm going to have to turn to our officials to speak about the actual administration of how the staff are applied.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Great, thank you very much. Yeah, the average, someone waiting over an hour, it would be an extremely rare situation. Year to date, the average wait time for our pensions call center is under 20 minutes. It does vary from week to week based on the call volumes, but lately, the average wait time has been between 25 and 35 minutes, very consistently. But there is opportunities that people can actually. We are deploying our resources to make sure that we have the appropriate number of resources, both answering calls, but also processing the claims to make sure that people can be getting to pay as quickly as possible. That's why since the end of January, it had been 85,000 clients that were beyond that first month of entitlement, and now we're down to 63,000, and we're going to continue to see that.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt because I have very limited time, but the employees of that department are feeling stressed out because of the overtime that are required for them to work, which is interfering with their family life. How much more of a cost is that going to be, and how are we going to protect our employees so that their mental health is not impacted?
Although we have maximized overtime in all employees who help support. So while we are maximizing the use of overtime, and all employees who are supporting the delivery of OAS can work overtime, they are not required to do so. So if someone chooses to only work their regular full-time hours, there is no obligation for them to work beyond the hours that they are able.
So what is the cost? What is that? What do you anticipate the cost will be upon completion of this program?
Completely under budget.
Overtime. So I'm assuming that the $6.6 billion does not incorporate the overtime that will be expected to be paid. What do we anticipate? How much more billions of dollars are we going to expect the taxpayers to pay because of the overtime?
Clarify what the $6.6 billion.
So the $6.6 billion reference related to the total projected estimate for the benefit delivery modernization program is for the overall project, as the minister highlighted, to deliver all those.
Exceed 6.6 million until 2030, I believe, is the completion date. We're going to stick to $6.6 billion and no more until 2030.
Yeah, the current estimate is up to, and it is an estimate, and a rough order of magnitude estimate, $6.6 billion in delivering the old age
So
security.
that's an estimate. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's an estimate. So if we continue to have these backlogs, we're going to continue to ask our team to help us out and correct these issues so seniors don't wait. How much more are we anticipating?
So to deliver the old age security program, we actually came under budget, 6% under budget than had been forecasted, and therefore we are confident that we will continue to remain under budget overall for the delivery. The delivery of benefits in the overtime.
To Ms. Roberts, Madame Koutrakos pour 6 minutes.
All right, gang. So what we're going to do very quickly is find come on. And then we'll jump into question period. Oh. Well, watch Lila Goodrich freak out here for a second.
53,000 seniors that are stuck in a backlog, waiting a very long time to get money that they've paid into. 63,000 people, that's the equivalent of a community the size of Medicine Hat or North Bay. That's not an insignificant amount of people, and yet the minister celebrates this program as a success. I'd say to those 63,000 people that are waiting to get the money that they've paid into their entire life, that's not a success. So my question is, have you guys done any analysis as to how many files have received overpayment under this new system?
Yeah, we have a regular payment accuracy review that we do for all our major programs. We have a target for those programs of a 95% payment accuracy for EI, OAS, and CPP. The year-to-date results for OAS is 97.5% payment accuracy. And those results are reviewed by the Auditor General.
No, I appreciate that. We've heard how many cases are in backlog in Quebec. How many cases are in backlog across all of the province? Could you table that with the committee? Because I think it's absolutely incumbent on us to understand if this is a regional issue that's impacting Quebec at a higher rate. Is this an issue that is impacting any particular region at a higher rate? Because frankly, as a committee, we need to actually understand this a lot better. So can you commit to tabling that by province?
Certainly we have that information, and I would highlight for Quebec. Quebec represents about 25% of our total OAS clients, but within the backlog of 63,000, it's about 13%. So Quebec is underrepresented, and we have the breakdown by region. We just certainly provide that to the to this table.
My next question. I'm a rural member of parliament. I have lots of people in my riding that have very limited, if any, access to internet. So I'm assuming that there is probably a much larger rural-urban divide on this. What is the breakdown on urban versus rural for this backlog?
I don't see if we have that type of information. I have not seen that specific information. However, we do have lots of ways that clients can apply for the program, including in our over 300 offices across the country, which are within 50 kilometers of over 95% of Canadians.
Well, I will say in my riding, that's not really the case, because if you're in Fort Chipewyan, you actually have to get on a prop plane and get to Fort McMurray if you want to be able to apply in person at Service Canada. If you're in Cold Lake, even though it's a military base, even though this is a massive Government of Canada employer, you actually have to drive to St. Paul, which is an hour and a half away to be able to get service. So there are lots of places in rural Canada that are very underserved by Service Canada, and those are the communities that have the least access to internet. Just as a plug, I do think that you guys should reconsider having a full-time Service Canada office in Cold Lake because of the F-35 project. So I'm going to give that as a local member of Parliament plug to please reconsider this. But one of the other pieces on this is, have you guys done an analysis as to how many of the people in the backlog are First Nations versus and living on First Nations reserves?
So we do not collect Indian status related to OAS applications. It's not part of your eligibility, so that is not information that we presently have.
Well, I'm more going off of if they live on reserve, you probably have those postal codes, and that should be able to be pulled out just to see if there isn't.
All right, gang, we're going to flip over to the House of Commons now, and we'll check that out. So
this is a lifeline in Whitby, a place
Turnbull
where people facing some of their hardest moments can find safety, care, and dignity. Our new government is backing that critical work with a $40 million investment, turning the site into supportive and transitional housing. With 104 new beds, on-site healthcare, and recovery supports, this facility offers more than just a place to lay your head. This is what real solutions look like. Fewer people sleeping outside, fewer emergencies and public safety concerns on our streets, and frontline workers connecting people to care faster, preventing crisis before it happens. Most importantly, this project gives people time, stability, and the support they need to rebuild their lives. This is what standing up for Canada really looks like, Mr. Speaker.
Here, well said.
The honourable member for
It's not a good sign.
Westlock.
Mr. Speaker, Easter is the most important celebration because it marks the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Humans are not perfect. We sin, and this sin requires justice. That is why it's an incredible act of love that our Creator descended to earth to bear our punishment and rise again on the third day. As Jesus himself said in the Gospel of John, I am the resurrection and the life. He who comes to me will never die. This promise is fulfilled in the Easter morning when the tomb was found empty. In the Gospel of Matthew, the angel declared, he is not here, he is risen.
Here, here.
Just as he said. This is the good news. You are truly forgiven through the death of Jesus. So whether it's legal or not, I will always proclaim, Christ is King, he is risen, risen indeed.
Here. Amen.
The honourable member for Ottawa Centre.
Speaker, Eve is a time to celebrate with family and friends and for communities to come together in joy and solidarity. I was happy to join members of my community in Ottawa Centre and the Diplomatic Corps at a celebration organized by Abbas Mahmoud and Kosai Kurbash that combined Eid celebration and fundraising for the Ottawa Breakfast Program. The program is run by the Ottawa Network for Education. They serve over 16,000 students every day in 215 schools across Ottawa. Events like these complement our government's efforts through the National School Food Program to support childhood development, save money for families, and of course, feed children. And Speaker, that's what Eid is all about. Eid Mubarak to everyone.
The honourable member for Regina Louvain.
Over 8 years, your perspective can change from a hockey player to a hockey parent. This winter, my wife ran into Mr. Cross at the Strasbourg rink watching his kids play the sport his son loved. His son was Mark Cross, the assistant coach for our Humboldt Broncos, and died in the crash. On April 6th, it'll be 8 years since the crash. Today, my words are inspired by Mr. Cross and all hockey parents. God looked down and said, we need hockey parents. Someone who cut sticks, sharpen skates, and tape ankles. God needs someone who can get up when it's still dark, pack the cooler bag, travel icy roads, fight blizzards, and beat the rising sun for early morning ice times, all with a smile on their face for the love of the game. Someone that can run on coffee to rink burgers, make a noisemaker out of anything, and cheer on every kid like they're their own. He needs someone who would give up 7 months of weekends to sit in the cold rink and be there for the thrill of victories, but also dry the tears of defeat. So God made a hockey player. On April 6th, please keep our Humboldt Broncos in your thoughts and prayers and say a little extra blessing for our hockey parents. And lastly, leave a stick on the porch in case one of our Broncos needs a spare for their evening game upstairs. God bless Humboldt.
The honourable member for Quebec Centre. Mr. Speaker, in order to receive benefits, it's essential to fill out your tax return. Benefits like the new Canadian Groceries and Essentials benefit. That's a benefit that can be up to $900 for a single person this year and $2,000 for a family of 4. This new benefit will support 12 million low or medium income people in order to compensate for the increase in the cost of staples. I'd like to thank from the bottom of my heart dozens of volunteers at Patro Laval in my riding. Until April 23rd, they will be helping nearly 3,000 people with a free and confidential service to help them prepare their tax returns. I'd also like to thank the Government of Canada for supporting that initiative. I'd like to thank other organizations in Canada as well that are supporting people through the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program.
The Honourable Member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, higher prices are the official policy of the Liberal Party. The results speak for themselves. 100,000 jobs lost this year, a shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment in the G7, the highest household debt, the highest food inflation. Canadians can't eat empty Liberal slogans. Broken promises don't put a roof over Canadians' heads. Spending is out of control. This Brookfield government has already broken its deficit target. The Prime Minister can only hide overseas for so long. Canadians are waking up to the consequences of 11 long years of bad Liberal policy. This government's only solution is more of the same. More corporate welfare for well-connected insiders, more new bureaucracies to slow development, recycled announcements and reused talking points. Now they'll reap a gas tax windfall, but Canadians won't see a dime. The bill for these bad Liberal policies will come due, but it's Canadians who will pay the price.
The Honourable Member for Fredericton, Oromocto.
Monsieur le Président. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate an extraordinary moment in Canadian animation. The Oscar for Best Animated Short was given this year to Montreal filmmakers Chris Lavis and Maciej Szczerbowski. It reflects Canadian talent and creativity. This award will be an inspiration for our artists and will make Canada proud.
Chris and Maciej told the world that their film could only be made at the National Film Board of Canada. This is the 12th Oscar win for the NFB. We should be proud of the enduring role the organization has played in supporting bold, original voices and sharing Canadian stories with the world. Felicitas.
I'd like to congratulate Maciej and Chris, and I'd like to congratulate the NFB on this remarkable accomplishment.
Oral questions.
Here we go.
Questions orales. The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
You know, Mr. Speaker, it used to be that when oil prices went up, the Canadian dollar went up along with it. But it's not. Why? Because this government is attacking our energy industry. Their industrial carbon tax drives investment out of the energy sector, and despite massive new powers, they have still gotten no new pipelines built. Even the Liberal Prime Minister has said that when our dollar is weak, food becomes more expensive. But he doesn't realize that it's his job to give Canadians a strong dollar. Liberals never change. Will he reverse his radical environmental agenda so our dollar can be strong and Canadians can eat, heat, and house themselves?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we'll circle back to that question, but today we need to start with the good news for Canadians and for Canada. Today, the NATO Secretary General confirmed that Canada has met NATO's 2% spending. And in the alliance, investing in Canada's women and men in uniform. Today and every day, NATO allies know they can count on Canada.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Even the Liberal Prime Minister acknowledged, quote, one thing impacting food prices is the fall in the Canadian dollar. But it's his job to give us a strong dollar. But he has chosen to keep his industrial carbon tax that drives investment out of Canada. This isn't the first time he's racked up a record like this. His tenure in the UK was described as, quote, characterized by stagnant growth, stalled living standards, and declining productivity. Sound familiar? This Liberal Prime Minister is great at getting important jobs, just terrible at actually doing those jobs. So will he reverse his radical environmental agenda so our dollar can be strong and food can become more affordable?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, I have good news for Canadians today.
The Secretary General of NATO has confirmed that Canada has met the goal of 2% of GDP on defense. Mr. Speaker, this historic investment shows that we are doing our fair share here at home and within the alliance. Today, as every day, NATO allies know that they can count on Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, it's clear today that the Liberals want to talk about everything but the affordability crisis that Canadians are suffering from. This Prime Minister hasn't reversed the affordability crisis in Canada as he promised because he refuses to acknowledge that his radical environmental agenda is driving up cost and driving investment out of our country. Canadians need permanent relief from Liberal policies like the industrial carbon tax that impacts the cost of just about everything we grow, ship, and purchase. Everything is more expensive, from housing to gas to groceries. Will the Liberals finally stop attacking vital industry?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I was just in Houston where I was with Secretary Wright and Secretary Burgum, and they were applauding Canada for its record oil production and its record natural gas production, which is keeping prices affordable in North America, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Well, Mr. Speaker, under this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians are suffering this affordability crisis, and the cost of everything is going up. It used to be the case in this country that if the price of oil went up, our dollar went up. But thanks to radical Liberal policies, that is no longer the case. Canadians have suffered long enough under this government. Will the Liberals reverse their radical policies, like the industrial carbon tax, that are driving down our dollar and give Canadians relief from this cost of living crisis?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, these Conservatives cannot stand good news, Mr. Speaker. But I have good news for them. Not only we're making our NATO commitment, but we table legislation, Mr. Speaker, to boost home sales in the country and new construction, Mr. Speaker. They should rejoice, Mr. Speaker. We're going to boost construction. We're going to support our industry. We're going to support our construction workers. Instead of yelling, you should applaud our construction workers across the nation. They're going to help us build this country, Mr. Speaker. This is a day to celebrate. We're going to help our workers build our construction sector and make Canada stronger.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable, Lotbinière. While the Liberals hide behind these illusory celebratory ideas, Canadians are losing hope. The price of beef is up by 40%. Your Easter ham, it's up by 10% this year. The cost of gas is skyrocketing. The Prime Minister has imposed a hidden tax of 7 cents a litre on gas. It's going up by 17 cents a litre. Same old, same old, same old as under Justin Trudeau, the old Liberals. When will the Liberals get rid of the hidden taxes that are increasing the price of gas, of transport and of groceries so that Canadians can feed their families? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, once again, we see that the Conservatives aren't able to hear good news, Mr. Speaker. Not only do we have good news, we've reached our 2% target for NATO. They should be applauding that, Mr. Speaker. But another good news, bit of good news, some even better good news before they go back to their ridings. Mr. Speaker, this morning we unveiled a bill that is going to help us strengthen new home building and new home sales in Canada. We're strengthening the construction sector. We are making things better for our construction workers across the country, Mr. Speaker. This is a day to celebrate our construction sector and our defense sector. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable, Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing new under the sun with these Liberals, Mr. Speaker. It's same old all the time. They make announcements, but they never produce any results. At the grocery store, everything is more expensive. There's more spending. There's more debt. There's more inflation at the grocery store. There are more families facing unemployment. And, you know, all they want to do is celebrate, Mr. Speaker. It makes no sense. It's crazy how disconnected they are from the reality facing Canadians. No matter which Prime Minister is leading this government, it's same old, nothing ever changes. When are we going to end these old Liberal policies that are costing everyone? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect and a lot of friendship for my colleague, but I'm convinced that when he hears himself speak, he doesn't even believe what he's saying, because the truth is that as a government, we've created more than 80,000 jobs in the last 6 months, where if you look at what's happening in the American economy, which is 11 times bigger than our economy, they've lost 6,000 jobs in the last 6 months. And at the same time, while inflation is under control, according to the Bank of Canada, salaries across the country are going up by 4.3%. That's what it means to work for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he was really disappointed by the unilingual announcement from the CEO of Air Canada, Michael Russo. But, you know, it's tricky for him to say that he's disappointed, because 3 years ago his government voted against requiring bilingualism for the bosses of companies like Air Canada. His government doesn't respect its own official languages law. His government is investing every new dollar in his official languages plan to promote English in Quebec instead of French. How can the Prime Minister be disappointed in a situation that the federal government is responsible for? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. The member across the way seems to have forgotten that we've invested $4 billion in strengthening French in Canada with the new Official Languages Act. In terms of the situation with the CEO of Air Canada, it's clear that we are very disappointed. He should have known better. We expect... What? I'm being interrupted by the bloc. Once again, they don't want to hear the answer, Mr. Speaker. So it's ridiculous, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, instead of saying that they're disappointed by Michael Russo, well, the Prime Minister should be setting an example. But he's probably the only Prime Minister in 50 years to not have a Francophone speechwriter in his office. His government is making unilingual Anglophone appointments, starting with the Governor-General, Mary Simon. The Liberals have hurt Quebec's ability to ensure that people are working in French. Does the Prime Minister not understand that the example that he's giving is inspiring and encouraging the Michael Russos of this world? The Honourable Minister. Well, first of all, I'd like to note to the member across the way that we have a historic number of Liberal Party members from Quebec right now, Mr. Speaker. And in his cabinet, we have many Francophones. I think we saw that during the election campaign, he's been working very hard on his French. I think Canadians know that the Prime Minister is making incredible efforts when it comes to French. The Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker.
Two shits?
Well, the Prime Minister says that he's disappointed by the unilingual English message from Michael Russo. The federal government has spent more than $2.4 billion to strengthen English in Quebec since 1995. Billions of dollars to make Quebec English-speaking over 30 years, and that continues every year. And that explains, it's very clear, how Michael Russo has been able to live his life in Quebec without speaking a single word of French. When will the Liberals realize that there are many Michael Russos across Quebec and that it's largely their fault? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Mr. Speaker, Anglophones have rights in Quebec. It's clear, Mr. Speaker, that the member across the way is saying spouting nonsense, and it doesn't deserve a response.
Speaker, a grocery store worker in Haldimand, Norfolk contacted my office to say that $120 used to buy 5 bags of groceries. Now it barely fills 1. Even though she works at a grocery store, she's still forced to use the food bank. This Prime Minister has delivered the worst food inflation in the G7, and he even plans to raise the clean fuel standard tax by 7%. Will this Prime Minister get rid of the food tax so Canadians can afford to eat?
Somebody should just assess.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we understand that world events and supply chain challenges and other things have generated inflation, and we understand that that has had an impact, a deleterious impact, on the ability of families to afford some basic essentials. That is precisely why this government put in place a Canada Child Benefit, put in place dental care, put in place pharmacare, made child care agreements resulting in $10 a day child care in most of Canada's provinces, Mr. Speaker. The question that Canadians really have is, why do the Conservatives vote against this?
The honourable member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are in distress and are struggling with high food costs. This Prime Minister promised change, and instead the affordability crisis has just gotten worse over the past year. The Prime Minister broke his promise when he said that grocery prices would go down. Now Canada has the worst food inflation in the entire G7. His plan to increase the clean fuel standards tax by 7% will only make things worse. Will this Liberal Prime Minister cancel this tax on food so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, we understand the situation, and that's why on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we provided a number of measures to help Canadians and Canadian families. I can think of the Canada Child Benefit, Mr. Speaker, that is making a real difference. I can think of the National School Food Program, Mr. Speaker, that is helping kids across the country. I can think about the Canada Disability Benefit, Mr. Speaker, which our government has put in place. I can think about the Canada Grocery and Essential Benefit, Mr. Speaker, that's going to help more than 12 million people. Mr. Speaker, we know it's an issue. That's why we're working to tackle affordability every single day.
Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Almost a year ago, when asked, will there be a barometer for Canadians to hold you accountable? The Prime Minister responded, Canadians will hold account by their experiences at the grocery store, when they're paying their electricity bill, when they or their children are looking for a place to live. 10 months later, Mr. Speaker, groceries are higher than ever, affordable housing is non-existent, and the price of fuel is skyrocketing. This is a direct result of increasing the clean fuel standard tax by 242%. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister get rid of this tax on food so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, same question after question on that side. The only thing that changes on that side, Mr. Speaker, is leaders. They've had 6 of them in the past 10 years, probably soon to be 7. On this side of the House, we're focused on affordability. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've introduced the Groceries and Essentials benefit that's going to put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're going to continue to focus on affordability. They can focus on changing leaders time after time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years, the only thing this Liberal government is focused on is consistently delivering excuses. This government needs to look at home for the root causes that have created a decade of debt and deficits. This government's own economic and monetary policies. This government continuously raids the bank accounts of Canadians to fund vanity projects like Alto Rail instead of investing in much-needed infrastructure and housing. Mr. Speaker, again, will this government scrap the fuel standards tax so struggling Canadians can get a modicum of relief?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, what we're hearing from that side of the House, what we're hearing heckled today, is that the programs that we've been putting in place to help Canadians and Canadian families are glorified food stamps. These are ideological, radical programs, when in fact they are actually designed to help Canadians, and we boosted them. Whether it's our Groceries and Essentials benefit, which Canadians are going to be feeling here just this spring, or making our National School Food Program permanent, or expanding our dental care program. When I talk to people in my riding, they talk about how these programs are making a difference in people's lives, but these Conservatives keep voting against them.
The Honourable Member for York-Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised the best economy in the G7, and he is delivering precisely the opposite. Highest household debt, highest food inflation, and an economy literally shrinking under the weight of his policies. Particularly concerning is the decline in foreign and domestic investment. C.D. Howe called it, quote, Canada's investment crisis, because adjusted for growth and labour inflation, Canada's investment, all business investment, has declined. We've offered a positive solution. Remove the industrial carbon tax. Will they do it?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives just learned a new word, affordability, and they use it often in the House of Commons, but every time they get the chance to vote in favour of an affordability measure backed by experts, they vote against. This feigned new interest in supporting lower-income Canadians isn't fooling anybody, Mr. Speaker, and besides, our policies are working, particularly on rents. Here, I'll read a couple of headlines for the Conservatives. Now is the best time to rent in Canada, as asking prices for rent hit a 31-month low, Mr. Speaker. When you build more affordable housing, rents go down, and that's what this government has been doing for years now, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives can get on board.
The honourable member for York-Durham.
The question, Mr. Speaker, was about business investment. I'll try again. C.D. Howe says that investment per worker has declined 25% since the Liberals took office. Weak investment yesterday and today means lower wages and lower productivity tomorrow. 2 years ago, the Bank of Canada said we had to break glass on this issue. A year later, C.D. Howe said it was a 4-alarm emergency. But here we still are. We've offered a positive solution. Remove the industrial carbon tax, which is a clear drag on business investment. Please, an actual answer this time.
Here, here.
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I was beside the Premier of Alberta earlier this week in the United States, where she was applauding the work of this government, where she believed the work of this major projects office has brought over $126 billion of investment to Canada in the last 6 months.
The Honourable
They're
Member
just
for
lying.
Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
This Liberal Prime Minister is busy grandstanding once again, bragging about how much he's spending on defense, but it's all just an illusion. He stood up a new agency, hired more bureaucrats, created a taxpayer-funded bank, is issuing massive corporate subsidies to large defense contractors, and enriching Liberal insiders. Meanwhile, Canada only has 300 troops defending the Arctic, and half our equipment is unusable. We don't even have new fighter jets or anyone that can actually fly them. Why is this Prime Minister wasting money on backroom bureaucrats and corporate insiders instead of giving our frontline troops the equipment that they need?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think that member who was around in those days is not really very nostalgic for the peak of 0.99% of GDP that was achieved under the Conservatives. This government, we are going to equip our members in uniform. We are going to give them raises. We are going to improve their bases. We are going to buy new equipment. We are going to create jobs, jobs, and more jobs in the defense industry in this country, unlike the Conservatives.
The honourable member for Vernon Lake Country, Monashee, is making it hard for me to hear the questions and answers.
The honourable member for Rivière-du-Nord. The Liberal Party of Canada is, I think we can all acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, an organization that has a little bit of influence on the government. But this party, at its Congress, called on the government or the Liberal Party to urge the government of Canada to invoke a veto over any provincial law that proactively invokes the Notwithstanding clause. A right of veto, at the end of the day, over the National Assembly of Quebec's sovereignty. So I'd like to know, if you'll allow me, Mr. Speaker, if the government agrees with that proposal. The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada's disallowance powers have not been used since 1943, and they won't be used by this government. The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, the federal government didn't just go to the Supreme Court to contest a law passed by the National Assembly. It went to lower Quebec's own powers in its own areas of jurisdiction. With its campaign of fear talking about slavery and summary execution, this government is attempting a full-blown constitutional coup. If the Liberals want to open the Constitution to weaken Quebec, they know what to do. Either they can start a new constitutional round, or they can respect the powers of Quebec. What will they choose? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I find the questions from the Bloc Québécois absolutely ridiculous. One thing I know about Quebecers, Mr. Speaker, is that we're proud to live in a state of law. And Quebecers have the right to contest a law before the Supreme Court. It's their right. It's completely legitimate. On this side of the House, we respect the work of the Supreme Court, and we're going to let them continue their work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Akiwenrek. Mr. Speaker, a year ago, Canadians thought that they had a new Liberal Prime Minister, but no, it turns out that a Liberal is a Liberal is a Liberal, and that's been the same for 10 years, Mr. Speaker. And investments are bad, Mr. Speaker. The C.D. Howe Institute told us today that business investment per worker is down. It's down by 25% in investment per worker. Investment in industrial commercial buildings has dropped by 32%. Machines and equipment, it's down by 29%. It's all going down. But there's one thing that is going up, Mr. Speaker, and that's the Liberal industrial carbon tax. While investments are going down, the Liberal tax is going up. Is there a Liberal who can explain to me how this is going to work? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Well, there's something that we can certainly explain to my colleague with whom I have great friendship, and it's the fact that there are tariffs right now against the manufacturing sector, and that's having an impact on our industrial base. And obviously, that's also having an impact on investments. In the meantime, the government isn't sitting on its hands. No, we've worked on a plan. We've worked with businesses from Quebec and the rest of the country, and we are helping those who are impacted directly by the tariffs, workers, entrepreneurs, and others. Our goal is to create jobs, and you know what? We've created 80,000 in the last 6 months. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Akiwenrek. Well, you know, Mr. Speaker, last month 100,000 Canadians lost their jobs, Mr. Speaker. That's the reality. And while the government's blaming everything on Donald Trump, the reality is that this government could act directly. But what they're doing for industry is increasing the Liberal industrial carbon tax. That's the truth, Mr. Speaker. When investments go down, they're increasing taxes. It doesn't make any sense, Mr. Speaker. But it's the proof that this Liberal government, over the last 10 years, has not changed at all. It's the same recipe that led to the loss of 100,000 jobs over the last couple of months.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I have good news. Good news for my colleague. Last week, I was with the finance minister in my riding, where we saw a $250 million investment to increase the number of Canadian products that are built here in Montreal, in Quebec, and in Canada. That's because Kraft Heinz has confidence that our new government knows what it's doing with the economy, and I think that we should look at that investment as being a major step forward for Quebec and for Canada. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, new Liberal government, old Liberal government, well, whatever, it's a Liberal government that doesn't know how to count. For 10 years, it's been the same Liberals who've ruined our country. Canada lost over 100,000 jobs since the beginning of the year. Business investment per worker has plummeted by 25% since the last Conservative government, and investment in industrial and commercial buildings has dropped by 32%. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals, will they cancel the industrial carbon tax finally so that our country becomes a place where people want to invest again? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen, my colleague has made a major allegation by saying that the government doesn't know how to count. But I think if he were to do a math test against the Prime Minister, well, I don't think he would win. If he was going to do a test of, who can yell the loudest, well, maybe he'd win that.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, in recent weeks, we've been hearing conflicting reports that have circulated regarding the cost of the Quebec City tramway. Here in the House, the member for Beauport-Limoilou himself mentions a cost of up to $13 billion. The announced budget is reportedly $7.6 billion. What we need to know is how much the federal government is prepared to pay into this. Everyone in Quebec wants to know. I would ask the government's Quebec lieutenant to clarify. The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On March 26th, it's a historic day. Finally, the member for Charlebourg is supporting the tramway project, a critical project, $10.6 billion in economic benefits. It's a historic day because a year ago, he was claiming that he was going to withdraw financial support, $1.44 billion. And here we are signing agreements with Quebec, $26 million for public transit over the next 10 years, $13 billion for the infrastructure fund for my colleague. And I'm very much looking forward to working with him on this important project. The honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, there is a nuance here. You know, it's not. We remain on the same position, but they are committed. They committed, in fact, last year that they would be there for 40% of the project. Now, the project is underway, but there's no funding attached to that. Can the minister confirm that his government will be there before the trees have been cut? What are we supposed to do if that's not the case? The honourable minister. Mr. Speaker, there's one thing that is for sure, and I think things are backwards here when you hear the member across the way from Charlebourg-Saint-Charles say these things. What he was promising to the people of Quebec was zero. Projects are fine for Edmonton and Calgary, but their commitment was zero for Quebec, and that's absolutely unacceptable. We've been here since day one. We've been here since 2018, $1.44 billion, $25 billion over the next 10 years, $13 billion in infrastructure, and we're working closely with Quebec City for more money for public transit everywhere throughout Quebec.
For Scarborough Agincourt.
Today is a great day for Canada, Mr. Speaker. Consideration for the Budget Implementation Act is nearly complete, and we can expect royal assent shortly. Families in my riding of Scarborough Agincourt know we are investing in Canada's future, building an economy that is strong and resilient to global shocks, unlocking generational investments in our long-term prosperity, driving economic growth, and modernizing our tax and financial systems. But can the Minister of Finance tell us how else this bill will help Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I want to thank my colleague for her strong leadership. She's right. There's even more good news, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Just look at the Conservative face. They're waiting for that because they're going in their riding. Well, we're going to get royal assent today, Mr. Speaker. We're expecting to get royal assent for the Budget Implementation Act, Mr. Speaker. This is a great day for Canadians because Canadians will see production in instant tax credit, historic investment in housing. We're going to reduce red tape. We're going to make permanent the National School Food Program. We're going to modernize our consumer-driven banking. Mr. Speaker, we're going to build the strongest economy in the G7.
Very good. Honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister stood in this place and tried to tell Canadians that immigration is under control. Well, here are the facts. The temporary foreign worker program has ballooned by 178% since 2015. The Auditor General revealed that 97% of student fraud cases are not even being investigated. And the asylum backlog is a staggering 300,000 cases. And yet Canadians can't find jobs, housing, or health care. This didn't happen by accident. This was the work of 3 incompetent ministers, and all 3 are still in his cabinet. When will the Prime Minister fire these ministers and fix the core issues in our immigration system?
Good question. The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Mr. Speaker, I'll get to the answer to that question in due time, but I want to say this, Mr. Speaker. Those Conservatives across the way from Saskatchewan have been there 10 years.
Hammered.
I have been here 10
Barely
months,
can
and
talk.
what did I see, Mr. Speaker? Defending our northern border, check mark. Building the one Canadian economy, check mark. Strengthening our world trading partnership, check mark. Creating nation-building projects across Canada, check mark. $2.5 billion in uranium sales with India, check mark. Canola sales dramatically increasing, check mark. And more good news, Mr. Speaker, we are just getting started.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, he forgot scurvy in his riding. Check mark. The Prime Minister says things are under control, but with 7 ministers in 11 years, the system is getting worse and worse. Yesterday, the Justice Minister issued a fake apology for his failed tenure as Immigration Minister by blaming the provinces as if he held no responsibility. His successor, the current Minister of Culture, oversaw the surge in asylum claims that have overwhelmed our healthcare system and housing supply. And the current Immigration Minister is so incompetent that our own Liberal colleagues are calling for her to be fired. The Prime Prime Minister chose these people. Will he take responsibility for their failure and fire these cabinet ministers?
That's an excellent point.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Personal attacks speak for themselves, Mr. Speaker. I have great respect, in fact, for this member. We've had the pleasure of working together on the House of Commons committee responsible for immigration.
He thinks he's so goddamn smart saying a thing like that. But that is an attack in itself. Peter Fragaskatos is a dirtbag and a scumball and a liar, just like the rest of the Liberal, especially cabinet, but the backbenchers too. They're all a part of the problem. I can't believe that they sleep at night.
He understands that fundamentally immigration has played an important role, a very important role in the history of this country, and that needs to continue. He also understands, as our side does, that transformations in immigration policy are needed. And in fact, those are underway. A 60% decline in the number of international students on an annual basis, a 53% decline in the number of temporary residents, a 1/3 decline in the number of asylum seekers. We'll continue that work. Of course, we take seriously the recommendations of the Auditor General because change is needed.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale Langley City.
You guys just love wallowing.
I've been hearing something troubling from people in my community. They tell me that the international students whose visas have expired are being told by immigration consultants, just claim asylum, you'll be able to stay. So now we have people gaming a system that was meant for those fleeing real danger, and it's clogging the line for genuine refugees who actually need protection. This Prime Minister says claims are down, but since 2015, the backlog has exploded from 10,000 to 300,000 asylum claims. Will this Liberals finally admit this is happening and fix it before the entire immigration system loses its integrity?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me just say that this new government is ensuring we have control over the immigration system. Just today, Mr. Speaker, we passed Bill C-12 that gives greater law enforcement powers to both the CBSA as well as IRCC. It will enable, for example, those who are using the asylum system to game the system, Mr. Speaker, will enable officials to disallow those claims, Mr. Speaker. We are taking control of the immigration system, and C-12 is a perfect example of how we're moving forward, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale Langley City.
It's not just the abuse of our refugee system that has people in my riding shaking their heads. They are hearing about situations like this. A young woman just going about her life when a stranger violated her by groping her, not once, but twice. He was charged, he was convicted, and then he was given a discharge by the judge. No criminal record. Why? Because without a record, he can stay in the country and fight deportation. After years of decisions like this, will the Prime Minister fire the ministers responsible for creating this out-of-control immigration system?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, the member will be aware of the 2013 Supreme Court decision, the landmark decision, the FAM decision. And that decision makes very clear that when it comes to assessing the criminal actions of individuals, whether they are foreign nationals or Canadians, that public safety always takes precedence. If the individual has concerns with the decision of the court,
So do foreign nationals have the same rights as Canadians in the eyes of the Liberals? Because that's what Peter just said.
That decision is a court decision. It is not a government decision. It does not relate to legislation. As far as visas are concerned, I remind her of her leader's comments when he was parading around the country.
Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
For this Liberal government, the immigration system is more out of control than ever. This Prime Minister claims temporary foreign worker numbers are down by 50%, yet the facts say otherwise. In 2025 alone, approvals hit a staggering 167,000, nearly triple the 60,000 in 2015. At the same time, youth unemployment is surging to 14%, and young Canadians cannot find work. This Liberal Prime Minister either doesn't know his own numbers or is choosing to ignore them. How many more Canadian workers have to be pushed out of jobs and into food banks before this Liberal government admits its immigration is betraying Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I have respect for my colleague opposite, but I would remind him that TFWs are less than 1% of the workforce, and that temporary foreign workers use is down by 70% in Canada. And in fact, this is a government that stands behind youth. We are creating jobs for youth. One of the things that we're doing right now, we're investing in our union trade and innovation program, supporting 1,800 trades jobs in the BC construction industry, 350 new Red Seal bricklayers at the Ontario Masonry Training Centre, 2,000 sheet metal apprentices and journeypersons through the building trades unions. Mr. Speaker, these are the kind of serious actions that we're taking as part of our plan to get youth working.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, under this Liberal Prime Minister, the immigration system is more out of control than ever before. The Prime Minister claims student numbers are down, but last year alone, under this Liberal Prime Minister, there are over 247,000 permits issued, compared to 187,000 in 2015, before the Liberals dramatically expanded Canada's immigration policies.
Shameful.
That is not sustainable. Youth unemployment is 14% across Canada, even higher in London, and Canadian youth can't find jobs. Why won't the Liberals take accountability for their immigration failures?
Good question.
Good job.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I've already gone over the achievements of the government on the immigration file. We'll continue that work. Also, Conservatives have a tendency, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, to count permits and not people. And so they'll count the original permit that's issued, then the renewal. So we have a double counting that often happens. As far as creative math is concerned, we'll put that aside. They've mentioned time and again today the temporary foreign worker program. I'll inform my honourable colleague, their leader as well, if he wishes to hear it, that quietly, when they haven't been watching in the leader's office, Conservatives have been advocating, in fact, for the temporary foreign worker program in their office.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
You know, let's bring it a little bit closer to home for the member. In London, Ontario, an immigration expert said this. He called the Liberals' immigration levels explosive and reckless. He said, they don't care what will happen with this many students coming in, how they'll find a home or how they'll find health care. But it's just about numbers for them, right? And what happened? We saw health care in London be strained. Rents increased by over 20%. My question to my colleague is this. How can he defend the people who are in cabinet who caused this problem in his hometown while he isn't?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, personal attacks again speak for themselves. I'm honored to work.
That in itself is an attack, though, Peter, you dick. Like, oh my God, he's such a loser. I don't know why I'm hating on him so bad today. It's probably because he's an asshole.
Work with every single member of this caucus who time and again devote themselves to their constituencies. As far as London or any Canadian community is concerned, we continue to see immigration as a fundamental building block in this country. Of course, transformations in policy are needed. That's exactly what we are devoted to. Service has been strained. We know that, but the numbers are coming down, and they'll continue to come down. We see sustainability in the system, and we'll continue that work.
Good job.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
You know, Mr. Speaker, the role of a member of Parliament is to hold the government to account. And that member from London, he had the responsibility to go to his cabinet colleagues and say, there's too many people coming in too fast. The rents in my city are increasing too fast. People can't get health care. Our student food banks are being overrun. People can't get mental health supports, and yet he didn't. And he's standing here today, and he's defending the people who are in cabinet who made these decisions for which there's been no accountability. Can he just say that the government was wrong? And can he just say that he should never defend these people who created a dumpster fire?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Conservatives want to talk about past policy. That's their prerogative. What we are focused on, from start to finish, is making sure this country's present and especially its future is on a sustainable footing, that we build this country up, that we focus on the economy, that we look to the immigration system as one way to make that happen. I will absolutely defend every colleague on this side of the House because all of us are devoted, as they are, to our constituents, to our constituencies. Let's stop playing games. Let's get serious about the future of this country.
The honourable member for Kitchener South, Hespeler.
Out of respect for the health minister, I informed her office that I would be asking this question. I hope she respects the House enough to stand and answer it. They blew $250 million on Prescribe IT. That's the same amount they spent on the sponsorship scandal. Taxpayers got nothing for this money. The Liberals are outright cancelling the program, acknowledging that it was a total failure. Now, Liberals are filibustering the Health Committee to prevent the disclosure of the contracts. Why don't they just let Canadians see the contracts so we can all try to prevent such boondoggles in the future?
think old Marjorie Marie's going to stand up? Nope.
I have a great deal of respect for my colleague across the aisle, but they're
Jackie
demonstrating
Chan.
classic obstructionist behavior from committee. We've seen this. They're distracting from real work we're doing to improve healthcare across the country. Let's put the record straight, right? They voted against healthcare. They voted against dental care. And most recently, they voted against expanding ERs and hospitals across the country. Canadians can see the difference. Thank you.
The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, we have more good news today. Today, our government tabled important legislation to empower our industries and get homes built. We are working to provide affordability, to provide flexibility, and to deliver in the dream of everyone for a place to call home. Can the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure explain to the House the importance of today's legislation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, today is a very good day for housing in Canada. We are working with all provinces and territories, along with our home building partners, to make housing more affordable and deliver for Canadians. The funding from this housing supply bill will keep our projects moving, protect Canadian workers, and support construction. Mr. Speaker, this is for the months and years ahead, investing in affordability in our housing and in the Canadians that we need to support right now. A lot more work to do, but today is a great day. Thank you.
The honourable member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Pacific salmon are a public resource owned by all Canadians, not something for this Liberal government to eliminate behind closed doors. For generations, salmon have been managed as a common property resource for collective benefit of all Canadians, yet this Liberal government is now considering removing that principle from the salmon allocation policy. The Minister of Fisheries refuses to commit to protecting BC's vital recreational fishing industry. With only 5 days left to make a decision, I ask her to confirm that Canadians will retain their meaningful public right to fish, or will these Liberals once again turn their backs on coastal communities, recreational fishers, and our way of life?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Pacific salmon will remain a shared public resource managed by the federal government. There have been extensive public consultations on the policy, and working group tables continue and include representatives from sport and recreation, commercial harvesters, and First Nations. A revised salmon allocation policy will not take away any sector's access to the resource. To suggest otherwise is wrong, and it actually divides Canadians.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada's fisheries resources do belong to the people of Canada. The Fisheries Minister confirmed this last October when I asked her at Fisheries Committee. But the Minister's department has recklessly published a proposal that would eliminate this principle, and Canadians are paying the price for the uncertainty that it's caused. Was the Minister's statement at committee more Liberal bait and switch, or will she reaffirm that Canada's fisheries resources belong to the people of Canada?
Yeah, well said. Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Clearly, the member of the opposition didn't hear me, so let me repeat. Pacific salmon will remain a shared public resource managed by the federal government. There have been extensive public consultations on the policy, and working group tables continue. That includes representation from sport and recreational groups, First Nations, and the commercial sector. A revised salmon allocation policy will not take away anyone's access to the resource. To suggest otherwise is wrong and divides Canadians.
Member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Well, it sounds like the minister is tired of hearing from Canadians, but Conservatives won't stop raising their voices on their behalf. We recognize the salmon allocation policy must be aligned with the Housing decision. No one is disputing that in the policy's review. But why is the Minister's Department floating the proposal to go far beyond and proposing to sink over 9,000 jobs in BC by gutting the public fisheries access to Chinook and coho salmon?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite is incorrect. Let me repeat. Pacific salmon will remain a shared resource managed by the federal government. There have been extensive public consultations on the policy, and working group tables continue. That include representation from the sport and recreational group, First Nations, and the commercial sector. A revised salmon allocation policy will not take away any sector's access to the resource, and to continue this argument is to continue to divide Canadians.
The honourable member for Nunavut.
March 31st will be the National Day of Indigenous Languages. Our government acknowledges that Indigenous languages must be celebrated and supported. We have more great news. Additional 17.2 million will go towards national Aboriginal broadcasting, will go a long way. More Indigenous peoples will preserve their cultures by showcasing their stories. Could the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture and Minister responsible for official languages share how this will impact Nunavut?
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member for her tireless work for Nunavut and for the North generally. Last week I had the chance to visit a number of Indigenous broadcasters across the North to see the amazing work they're doing to revitalize the language, to broadcast their people in their languages. That's why I topped up the Aboriginal broadcasting envelope that we have in Heritage Canada by $17 million, just to make sure that those often small organizations are doing the amazing work and can continue to do that amazing work. Just in Nunavut, we announced in the members' riding $4 million, including $2.5 million for the Inuit Broadcasting Corporation. Mr. Speaker, keeping Inuktitut strong.
The honourable member for Wellington, Halton Hills North.
Mr. Speaker, Parliament recognized with Liberal MPs supporting that a genocide, including forced labour, was taking place against the Uyghurs in Xinjiang province in the PRC. In response, the Liberal government imposed sanctions. Today, a Liberal member of Parliament in committee intimated in questioning Margaret McQuaid Johnson, a former PCO official, that there was and is no Uyghur forced labour. Two questions. Does the government still assess that Uyghur forced labour has taken place? And secondly, will the sanctions remain in place?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, and I thank the member for the question, and I want to be absolutely clear to all members of this House, forced labor is unacceptable. We must ensure that our global supply chains remain free from these abuses. That's why, Speaker, we prioritize the inclusion of comprehensive labor provisions in free trade agreements to promote international labor standards. We also work with public safety to reduce forced labor from our supply chains, and we will protect Canada's interests while upholding labor standards from all workers.
The honourable member for Courtenay, Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, seniors in my riding are being told they no longer qualify for the Canadian Dental Care Plan because they supposedly have access to private insurance, even when that so-called access is only theoretical, unaffordable, or based on plans they opted out of decades ago. Some have already had treatment approved and completed and are now being told they may have to pay the money back. Why is this government clawing back dental care from seniors who followed the rules and simply can't afford private dental care coverage?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honourable member for his question. He works really tirelessly for his community, and I respect him a lot for that. Canadian Dental Care Plan has enabled 6 million Canadians to access affordable dental care plan and saving families $800 a year. So I look forward to working with him to resolve any outstanding issues that he has brought up. Thank you.
Honourable member for Vancouver East.
The Prime Minister is patting himself on the back about reaching NATO's 2% defence spending target. Budgetary
2025 saw the Liberals impose a 5% target, $81 billion. And now the government is promoting its defense procurement strategy as a way to turn Canada into a major arms exporter. This exposes Canada to further undermining international arms trade commitments through existing loopholes without scrutiny. Will the Prime Minister admit that this new direction demands accountability and commit to a full parliamentary review of Canada's arms export policy?
Here, here. Excellent question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I would remind this House that Canada continues to have the strongest regime when it comes to arms exports controls.
Exactly.
We will continue to monitor every sale that leaves this country. We'll continue to ensure that we have the best corporate social responsibility as we are engaged in peace activities around the world. We will continue to do that. We will never let our eye off that ball. Thank you, Mr.
Speaker. Good job.
And that concludes the question period for today. Okay.
All right, gang. So we're gonna get out of here. It's hard for me to figure out why more Canadians wouldn't be aware. I know everybody, not everybody, but 98% of the people that watch this channel are tuned in. They know that we're being duped. We know it's all a scam. We know that Carney's a liar. We know that all the Liberals practically a cult. But how do they still get voted in? I know the CBC, and the legacy media is a huge factor, and they have so many people that work for them and people that rely on them. But that's short-lived. You're going to get starved out. Like, if you live on your credit card and you keep spending more money, eventually they're going to take away your credit card. You're going to have nothing. And again, that's on a macro scale, but how are more people just not aware of this scam? It's crazy. It's been going on for almost 20 years. Lord Almighty. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. We start a couple hours early on Fridays. That is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Smash the like. It's not too late. Hit the subscribe. Come back. We've got other videos to check out. We're going to wrap it up with that. We'll go out on our old favorite romper room. Let's do it. Come on, computer.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for watching, gang.
You should do exercises. That's important to our good health. And friends, tomorrow we are going to be visiting with a fisherman who will tell us about his very enjoyable hobby. Now, I would like to see you all through our magic mirror. Romper bumper, stomper boo, tell me, do. Magic mirror, please tell me today, did all of my friends have fun at play? I see all of my friends in Alberta. It's nice to see you. And I see Dan and Vivian. I see Marlon and Mona. I see Catherine and Harley. I see Anne and Elizabeth and Jane. I see Bert and Nicole, and I see you too. I hope to see you tomorrow, right here in Romper Room.
Ding dong, knock knock, hey daddy do. Bing bong, tick tock, bebop boom.
Kick off your weekend with exciting CFL action when the Edmonton Eskimos tackle the BC Lions in Vancouver. Tomorrow night at 10:30 on CFTO TV.